In this video, we're going to talk about normals. A normal determines how light reflects from an object's surface. The normals are typically perpendicular to the surface itself. Now, polygons have two types of normals. They have a face normal and they have a vertex normal. Let's take a look at the face normal. And I'm just going to select my object here and zoom in. Let's turn on those face normals. And to do this, we'll go to Display and come down to Polygons, Face Normals. Now, the green lines that you're seeing here are the face normals, and you can see that they are perpendicular to the face that they're sitting on. So if we just right-click here and go to Face, and we'll just highlight this guy here, we can see the face normal, that green line that sticks out from it. Now this is telling us what side of the face is pointing to the light. With this face selected, I'm going to come on up here to Mesh Display. And under here we have Normals, and we have several different options for our normals. What I'm going to do is choose Reverse. Now that flipped the normal. The normal's still there, but now it's pointing into the interior of the model. Now if I click off, I can see that the light is basically ignoring it because now I'm looking at the back of my face, and the back of the face does not reflect or bounce light. It allows the light to pass through. Let's select that face, and I'm going to hit F just to frame my selection. What I want to do is I'm going to actually go inside my model here. So I'm just going to orbit my camera around a bit and see if we can't zoom out inside there. Okay, so now I'm inside my crow. It's a tight space here, so it's a little hard to stay inside here. But you can see that green normal sticking out. And if I just click off, so I deselect that face, you can see that the light is reflecting off of that face, and it looks correct like it did before. But all of the faces around it are black because we're looking at the back side of those faces. I'm going to come back out here. Ultimately, as we look at this here, what we want are the normals to be facing outward. And we also want those normals to be perpendicular to our surface, just so that you can see a couple of other things that can happen here. If I open the shading menu, and I just broke it off of my viewport, and if I check back face culling, you'll see what this does is that it turns the back faces off. So any back face is no longer being rendered. I can still see the normal in there, but the face itself is being ignored or culled. Now we can see directly through there because we're ignoring the back face, and the back face is not allowed to reflect or transmit any light whatsoever. If I were to zoom back in and go inside the model, I would see that face, just as it was when we were there before, because I'd be looking at the front side of that face. So this option here doesn't really do anything other than show us which faces are flipped. It's going to create this big hollow hole, but it will not really affect my model in the long run. What will affect it is that that normal is flipped. So I do want to select that face, and we'll go back to Mesh Display, and we'll choose Reverse just to flip that back so that it's going in the proper direction. Close that. Now I'm going to turn off my face normals. So we'll go back to Display, Polygons, Face Normals, and just shut those off. We got to be in object mode here. Break that off. We're going to play with a couple of other things here. So now I turned my face normals off. Now since I modified that face, we can see that something strange happened. When I was flipping those normals back and forth, that also affected my vertex normals. And now when my vertex normals are adjusted, they can make the surface look as if it has a hard edge or a soft edge. This face right here that we modified has a hard edge going all the way around it now. I'm going to select the model, and we'll just turn on vertex normals. And as the name suggests, the normals now come out of the vertex. And we can see some differences here between this face and adjacent faces. And we'll look at this guy right here. Let's try to zoom in so we can see it. There is a vertex normal coming out here and one coming out here. And this face looks soft. It blends in with the faces around it. But when I look at the bottom one here, we'll go back to object mode. It does not blend in. It has a hard edge. And we can see the vertex normal has actually separated. What we're seeing here, and the same thing is true up here, is that this vertex is being shared by multiple faces. Therefore, it will have multiple vertex normals. This face, its vertex normal, is pointing out this way, while this face here, its vertex normal, is pointing out this way, giving it the proper shading. So what I would want to do is basically just realign this vertex normal back to here so that it matches and there is a smooth transition between those faces. So I'm going to turn vertex normals off. We really don't need to look at the vertex normal very often. And for the most part, we can see exactly what we need to see on the model itself by just looking at how it's being shaded. If I select the model, we can fix the problem that we're seeing here, or it might not even be a problem depending on the overall look that we're after. But by choosing soft/hard edges, we can soften the model so that the entire model looks smoothed, or we can choose hard to make all of the edges look hard, giving it a faceted look. Or if this wasn't an organic object and we can say that we modeled a desk or some hard surface, we might actually want to see those hard edges in there, and it would look more realistic for a hard surface object to have a hard edge. So I'm going to choose my edges here, and this shows me my hard edges when I choose this guy here. When I choose this, it's going to show me all of my soft edges, and you can see that they just have a dotted line there. I'm going to close this up, and that's just going to show us our different display options there. Let's go to Mesh Display, and here I can actually affect the normal. So I'll choose Harden Edge, and now you can see that the entire model has hardened edges. Doesn't really look correct for a crow, so I'm going to go back to Mesh Display and choose Soften Edge. And now I have a nice soft-looking surface. All of my polygons match, and we don't have any discrepancies between the different faces. So in conclusion, we choose to soften our normals when we're dealing with an organic or soft-looking surface, but we would also choose to soften edges or the vertex normals if we're trying to describe a more rounded surface, but with a very limited amount of geometry. So if we don't have a ton of geometry in there, like you can see at the top of the wing here, we can just soften those normals, and it makes it look like it's a nice rounded surface by the way that the light bounces off of it.